Take this way again, boys, down this way.
Perfect. Sorted. Same again, but this time on the angle. Going towards that corner of the room, please. Nice.
The rivals are back. Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. came face to face ahead of their highly anticipated rematch. A moment charged with the same personal dislike as Conor Benn. He admitted that he doesn't like Chris Eubank Jr. personally. However, he showed respect for him as a fighter, but he acknowledged that Eubank gave him a tough, memorable battle. Benn explained that sharing the same hospital after the fight created a sense of mutual respect, even if they don't get along outside the ring.
I don't like him, and I ain't got to like him. He ain't my cup of tea, but he gave me one hell of a fight, so there's respect there as a fighter. You ain't got to like everybody, you know, and he ain't got to like me. Ain't about whether we like each other, but I think when you're sharing, you know, the same hospital, when you're not hospital beds next to each other, how can there not be mutual respect? For me, I respect Chris. I respect the fight he gave me. Do I like his antics? Do I like who he is as a man? No. Do I like how he is, how he operates? No. But I have to take my hat off to him and the fighter he is.
Moreover, Benn reflected on his first fight with Chris Eubank Jr., and then he admitted that the experience changed his view of his rival. He had expected to finish the fight early, but he was surprised by Eubank's grit and determination. Despite their rivalry, Benn came away with genuine respect for him as a fighter. Now, while driven by a sense of revenge, Benn looked at this fight as more than personal. It's a moment for British boxing fans. Jumping 2 weight classes was a clear testament to his determination to force this spectacle into reality.
Do you know what? Listen, Eubanks is a great fighter. I take my hat off to him. He has my respect. He had more courage, heart, desire and will to win than I thought he'd have. I thought it was curtains after the 3rd round when I hit him with a left hook. And I genuinely thought it was going to be an early night. But he had a lot more heart than I thought. But do I chase this as redemption? Of course I do. Do I want revenge? Yes, of course I do. But ultimately, this is a fantasy fight for the British public that I'm glad I could deliver to everybody. You know, and that was me jumping up 2 weight divisions to give everybody this fight. This wasn't on my radar. This wasn't a fight that was supposed to happen.
Meanwhile, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn stood face to face before their rematch, surrounded by a storm of camera flashes. With the world watching, Benn closed the distance, locking eyes with Eubank before leaning in to deliver a private, whispered message. It was a final act of psychological warfare, a silent promise that all the unfinished business from their first fight would be settled in the ring.
Take this way again, boys, down this way.
After their first face-off, Chris Eubank Jr. said that when he looked into Conor Benn's eyes, he saw a fighter who knows exactly what's coming. Eubank believed Benn understands that their rematch will be another all-out war with no easy way out. He ended with a simple warning, stating he hoped Benn would be trained accordingly for the brutal battle that awaits.
He knows what's coming. He knows the fight that's about to take place is going to be, it's going to be another war. It's going to be another bar brawl. He knows that there is no easy way out for him. So I hope he's trained accordingly.
Furthermore, Chris Eubank Jr. stated that bringing trainer Bomac back wasn't about a motivational lift, it was a strategic necessity. He emphasized that the focus is on completely changing the mindset, game plan, and technique for this fight. Eubank knows he can't walk in with the same approach Benn is expecting. The ultimate goal is to secure victory by implementing completely new and unpredictable strategies.
It's not about lifting me, it's about changing the mindset, the game plan, the strategy, the technique, the outcome of the fight. You know, I can't go back in there with the same, the same game plan. He's expecting that. We're going to hit him with something different.
Looking at the first fight, Chris Eubank Jr. recognized that Conor Benn entered their first bout with more than just victory in mind. He aimed to inflict genuine harm. Benn has since confirmed this, admitting he fought with a ruthless and aggressive mentality. Eubank planned to survive Benn's early onslaught, expecting his opponent's energy and aggression to fade as the fight progressed. However, Benn never relented, pressing forward round after round. His unwavering toughness and relentless pressure ultimately compelled Eubank to acknowledge and respect his formidable fighting spirit.
I could inflict it. Oh yeah, no doubt about whether I could inflict it. As a fighter to fighter, I know you know I know. I got you. I know you know I know.
I knew he wanted to kill me in there.
He has spoken a lot about simply wanting to inflict pain on you during that fight, rather than even win the fight.
So I knew it was going to take more than, one nice little shot to stop that energy. I thought eventually I would be able to sap him of that aggression and that energy, and eventually he would give up.
However, Eubank gave direct criticism in his assessment of Conor Benn, dismissing his public persona as a complete act. He asserted that people easily see through this facade and recognize that Benn is not the calm or likable person that he often pretends to be. Eubank interpreted this behavior as a defense mechanism. However, from his viewpoint, the performance is entirely transparent and simply does not work.
He's playing himself. People know who he is and what he's about. People see through the act. He's not a nice guy. He's not a calm guy. He doesn't like me. It's all a facade. It's all a defense mechanism. And it's not working for him.
Chris Eubank Jr. has openly stated that his ultimate goal in training is to secure a knockout. However, he has learned from experience that becoming desperate for the finish can backfire, making it harder to achieve. This understanding is central to his strategy. Therefore, his ambition is to end the fight early. He maintains the discipline and conditioning to box effectively for all 12 rounds if needed. He planned to pursue a decisive finish without becoming reliant on it.
Are you training for the knockout?
For sure. Always train for the knockout. It doesn't always come. The funny thing is, if you actually thinking about knocking a guy out, usually it doesn't come. You always got to prepare for those 12 rounds, but the goal is to go out there and make sure he doesn't see the 12.
Moving to trainer Bomac, he confidently stated that Chris Eubank Jr. definitely has the power to stop Conor Benn. While their primary game plan is built on winning a full 12-round fight, they are fully prepared to seize any opportunity for a finish. Bomac's final assurance was simple. If the chance for a stoppage presents itself, Eubank is in the exact condition needed to take it.
I think Chris has the potential to stop Conor on Saturday night as
He definitely does. He definitely does.
Are you planning for that?
Well, I am planning for a 12-round win.
Okay.
But if the stoppage is there, trust me, he's in shape to go get it.
From a prediction standpoint, boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. looked at this rematch, anticipating another brilliant and highly competitive fight. He believed that if Conor Benn is smart and makes the right adjustments, he can force an even better battle than their first encounter. While Jones acknowledged that Chris Eubank Jr., with his size advantage, should win on paper, his point of view suggested the fight is far from a foregone conclusion and will be a thrilling and unpredictable rematch.
I think it's going to be a little bit tougher this time because I'm sure Ben, if he's smart, is going to make some adjustments. And if he makes adjustments, it's going to make it real good, real fun again. I expect another brilliant fight just like it was the first time. And I'm looking forward to Ben. Eubank probably should win it again because of his size. But I think it'll be a better fight than the first one.
According to Johnny Nelson, he predicted a revenge victory for Conor Benn. He believed that while both fighters left everything in the ring last time, Benn seemed to have a little more left in the tank. Nelson pointed out that with the same contractual conditions, the physical battle should be identical. His key advice to Benn is to find the perfect balance. He must keep the emotional fire and eye of the tiger that makes him dangerous. Nelson warned Benn not to overcook it by overthinking, which is why he ultimately favors him to get his revenge.
I'm expecting revenge. I think Conor, I think both fighters put on an amazing performance. I think Junior left everything in the ring, and the conditions and the contractual conditions are exactly the same. So I don't see anything else being physically different But I looked at Conor, I thought Conor looked like he had a bit more left in the tank to give something else. So I just don't want Conor to overthink it, because I know he said I was too emotionally invested. He needs to be emotionally invested. He needs that eye of the tiger, he needs that sting, he needs that I want to smash your face in. But he needs to do it in a calculated way, not be too smart and overcook it. A massive factor, which is why I say I think it'll be revenge rather than repeat.
Looking at the rematch, Liam Smith also showed interest, and he slightly favors Conor Benn. His reasoning is twofold. First, he believed Chris Eubank Jr. is nearing the end of his career. Second, and more importantly, he argued that Eubank isn't technically skilled. He can't consistently target and exploit Benn's defensive mistakes. In Smith's view, this critical flaw is why Benn's aggressive style will be effective once again.
It's crazy how Conor Benn's career has gone, because he's a huge name, a huge draw, and a huge money fight now for anyone fighting him. Yet he hasn't won a British title. He hasn't fought or beat anyone of note.
Your thoughts on this Eubank Benn story?
The rematch, I think Conor Benn, I probably fancy Conor a little bit more because of what I think on Chris Eubank Jr. I think he's only 1 or 2 fights away from being done. We're going to get along the lines of the same fight as last time, whether it's as good and as competitive as last time. I think we're going to get the same type fight.
Does Conor have the technical ability to be able to make the impact on Chris Eubank?
I don't think Chris Eubank is as technically good and technically correct to counter Conor Benn's mistakes and exploit Conor Benn's mistakes.
Meanwhile, the analyst Liam Goff also shared his thoughts. He identified the rehydration clause as the critical factor that could decide this fight. He argued that the 36-year-old Eubank Jr. has clearly outgrown the 160-pound division, and the first punishing fight will take him longer to recover from. Goff believed that without this weight restriction, Eubank, especially with the disciplined training of Bomac, should be the theoretical winner. However, the clause negated his natural size advantage, making it the key element that could lead to his defeat.
Eubank Jr. is now 36 years old. If he has to adhere to this rehydration clause, which he's clearly outgrown 160 pounds, probably outgrew it a couple of years ago, really. Probably outgrew it really after the Liam Smith fight, the second fight. Probably then was the time to move up. To chuck a rehydration clause limit on that, given the fact that the first fight was punishing, Eubank is the older man, so you would imagine it's going to take him longer to get over that. That could really be the difference between him winning and losing this fight. I think that if you're talking about if you're talking about no rehydration clause, Chris Eubank Jr. in theory should win this fight. Especially now that he's got Bomac back in the team. Jonathan Banks is a good trainer, nothing against Jonathan Banks, brilliant trainer, but Bomac is, especially when you consider that when Eubank worked with him, he really respected him. And he just boxed. I mean, honestly.
He further clarified that blaming Eddie Hearn or Matchroom for the situation is unfair, since promoters would never risk delaying medical attention for a fighter. Coldwell added that the video Eubank shared highlights a real problem that needs fixing, not finger pointing. He also acknowledged that while Eubank's recent post about his injuries may have drawn mixed reactions, it ultimately reminds fans of the physical toll fighters endure and the respect they deserve for stepping into the ring.
I feel that Conor have learned a lot from that fight. Learned a lot about himself. Learned that he can't be emotional and he has to have a little bit of thought, because he was wild, reckless, especially early doors. Yeah. It was horrible. But I think he'll be a lot more calculated, smarter. He seems to be a lot more emotionally controlled this time coming into this fight. And I think just the experience of doing the rounds, the hard rounds against the bigger man, being backed up against ropes and, you know, getting caught and getting hurt and being so tight, I think all that experience will make him a better fighter.
Similarly, Jack Catterall has delivered a straightforward prediction for the rematch. He stated that both Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn will come out swinging in a fiery, high-intensity start. However, when pressed for a definitive winner, Catterall did not hesitate, clearly stating that Conor Benn will win this fight.
Junior or Benn, who comes out on top?
I think Conor Benn comes out on top. I anticipate round 13 they're going to go straight into it, but my prediction for Saturday is Conor Benn.
From Zach Parker's perspective, he believed Chris Eubank Jr. would approach the rematch with greater focus and discipline, using his boxing skills instead of getting drawn into a brawl, possibly earning a late stoppage win. In contrast, Paul Smith isn't convinced Eubank can make major improvements at this stage of his career. He reminded them that Benn, despite being a smaller natural welterweight, had managed to hurt Eubank before, and that experience could give Benn even more confidence. Smith felt that with his aggression and growing self-belief, Benn had a strong chance to come out on top this time.
I think Eubank will do a better job than we did last time. I feel like he just thought, oh, he can't hurt me, so I'm just going to have a brawl with him, but I feel like he'll box him this time and maybe take him out towards the late rounds.
So I can't really go back and say now all of a sudden because of Bomac he's magically going to improve. He will improve, but I think the shot resistance, when Conor Benn, who was a welterweight, was hurting him in the last fight, I think with the added confidence of Conor Benn knowing he can hurt in this fight with another crack at it.
Down to making the weight though, how badly he got it wrong.
I don't think he got it badly wrong, no. This is my point. He just turned up a little bit late.
Looking at the ambulance criticism, Chris Eubank Jr. addressed his recent dispute with promoter Eddie Hearn, who publicly called him a liar. Eubank stood by his claim that he was blocked from leaving the stadium after his last fight, a situation Hearn's team denied. He stated that he released evidence not just to prove he was telling the truth, but to force a change. His goal was to prevent another dangerous delay by ensuring a clear, speedy exit to the hospital after his next fight, highlighting a critical safety issue.
Eddie Hearn called me a liar. Eddie Hearn said it didn't happen. They said I wasn't blocked from leaving the stadium when I was. So that was put out there to prove that I was telling the truth, and also to shine a light on the situation to make sure that if it happens again to where I'm having to go to hospital after this next fight, that there is a speedy route for me to take to get there. Being blocked into a stadium for 20 plus minutes is unacceptable in this sport. So I had to shine a light on the situation.
On the other side, Conor Benn didn't hold back, accusing Chris Eubank Jr. of playing the victim for sympathy. He dismissed Eubank's talk about his injuries and hospital visit as a calculated act, pointing out that every fighter expects to be banged up after a war. Benn also challenged the narrative about Eubank's difficult weight cut, clarifying that Eubank actually missed the heavier championship weight, not the rehydration limit. In his view, it's all part of Eubank's strategy to craft a sympathetic story rather than dealing with the straightforward reality of their fight.
What you done? I don't know. I guess he just he likes sympathy. He likes people feeling sorry for him. You know, his toenail, the ambulance, his face. The reality is, none of you lot would have known I was in hospital if he hadn't posted for sympathy.
Yeah.
You know, none of you lot would have known I was in hospital because it's. What would you expect? You just had a 12-round fight. What do you expect? It's like, no shit, look. Of course you're in hospital.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's part of the life we chose. But I think even the weight cut, he missed the weight cut that he's made for the past 5-6 fights, 7 fights. He didn't miss the rehydration. He was 3 pounds under the rehydration. He missed the championship weight, which is his weight. You know, so he done well with pushing a narrative. But ultimately, it's all for sympathy.
The stage is set for one of the most anticipated rematches in British boxing. Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. are ready to settle everything once and for all inside the ring. Who walks away with redemption, and who gets left behind? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates, face-offs, or post-fight reactions. This is just the beginning. Fight night is coming.